Hello, friends. Welcome back to Call to Homeschool with your host, Meg Thomas. Back here with another interview today and another coaching question. So, we have Kendra on the podcast today. So, Kendra, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So, my husband and I are originally from Colorado and we're currently living in Utah. We have four kids. They are ages 8, 6, almost 4, and 1.5. And I've been homeschooling from the beginning. I never wanted to homeschool. My husband is the one who planted the seed. I was a public school teacher for 6 years before becoming a mom, and I never wanted to homeschool. It never was on my radar. I have family, like cousins who were homeschooled, and so um, it wasn't something I was really opposed to for other people, but I was never like, I want to do that. Um, so my husband planted the seed, and it sparked some interest, and then I had some friends who were planning on homeschooling, and I saw other friends who were. And I thought, maybe I need to look into this. And I tried preschool with my oldest, and we fell in love with it, and it was so much fun. So, that and a few other reasons, we decided to keep moving on with homeschooling, and I I love it. It's really hard but it's really good.
Yeah.
And my I feel like it's really healed my, I don't know if trauma is the right word, but healed some negative experiences I had when I was a teacher. I taught in Title I schools, and it was really rough towards the end. My husband was always like, "How was your day?" And I said, "Oh, it was okay." And he's like, "You never say you had a good day." And I'm like, "You're right." And so I just love the freedom of homeschooling and how I get to learn alongside my children. And it's been so great. So,
That is awesome.
yeah,
Well, super fun. Here. I love homeschooling too,
yeah.
obviously. Okay, so Kendra has a couple questions about levels of liberty. And this is something that I get probably one of the things I get a lot of messages about is levels of liberty, questions with it. And so I thought, what a perfect podcast to do. So you had a couple questions. So I'm just going to actually have you just ask your question if you kind of remember.
Yeah, hopefully I can remember.
Okay. And
I
I can kind of go back through. I just like you want to implement levels of liberty. And so kind of
Yeah.
talk to me about your thought with it if you can remember some of your question. If not, I can read the whole thing.
So I feel like when I heard you talking about it, it sparked my interest because I love learning from other moms and other homeschool moms what they do to help their children, especially learning life skills and just being a good human and other things that they're going to need. And my oldest daughter, I feel like she's really motivated by rewards. And so I was kind of thinking this seems like a better reward system where like one of the examples you had given in a previous podcast was your children got to pick their own bedtime. And so I don't know, I just think things like that could be really helpful to my daughter. And trying to get my children to do certain things is like pulling teeth. And so I feel like um, I just wanted to know how you implement it and how you do it, I guess.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to give a little bit of a background in case somebody's unfamiliar with levels of liberty.
Okay.
So, levels of liberty, the idea behind it is to teach your children correct principles and allow them to govern themselves. As you can imagine, I had 7 kids, right? And it can be complete chaos, or you can try to have it run pretty efficiently. Also, sometimes I think because when you do have a lot like something like a lot of pressures on you, you either allow like it sinks you or you have to figure out a really good system and how to thrive. And so I feel a little bit of like God was like, "Hey, I'm going to send you 5 kids in 6 years because then I know you will be forced to do some of this stuff to really then be able to help other people. Because if like how my kids are spaced out now, the last two, I wouldn't have thought of it because it's not as painful, right?"
Right.
So the idea is, and we used to call it femcises, and in my home we actually still do, but it's the successful six. It's a little bit more catchier. of teaching kids skills in 6 different areas in their life. So finances, emotions, their mental, physical, social, and spiritual. And the idea is that when they are 18, that they have a lot of these skills that they can go out into the world and don't aren't in the group of kids that are like adulting is hard. Not that it's not hard sometimes, but like I can't move out of my mom's basement ever. This is impossible. Just kind of that negative mindset. Don't take care of yourself. Like, what's a debit card or a credit card? What is interest? Like, I'll never be able to figure out how to get a home versus how could I figure out how to get a home, right? And just a lot of those different skills. And so we started it. My oldest is 24. I had to think about that for a second. And so I can never remember exactly when we started it, but he probably was around 10-ish when we started it. So we've been doing it for a while in my house. So obviously it flows pretty easily now
Right.
because of what we were doing it. But the idea of it is that your kids earn more liberties by the skills that they have in your home. Right. So working on habits is basically what the skills are. All right. Are like good, positive, healthy habits in your home. You earn these skills, you get the more liberties. And so, like you were saying, we've done bedtimes that you can do it. And it's so funny because my 8-year-old recently was like, an 8:45 bedtime is ridiculous, right? Because he's raised with a lot of older people. So he's
Right.
like, this is stupid. Other people are staying up till way later or like don't have a bedtime because they're an adult and whatever it is. And he's like, I don't want to do this. So we were creating something for him. And 2 weeks into it, he was like, never mind, 8:45 is fine.
Right.
But I love that idea with it of just that they see like the amount of work I put into something is the amount of reward I get. So I go to a job, I work 10 hours, I get paid 10 hours. I go to a job, I work 20 hours, I get paid 20 hours, right? So it's just that idea of teaching them these skills and then they get rewards and the liberties. And so as they get older, it can be things like, well, I guess for my younger kids, it could be things like playing at a neighbor's house, right? Playing at a neighbor's house without a parent there, playing, having kids over at our house without a friend here, well, a parent here, going to like the movies without an adult. So little things a little bit bigger and bigger. We actually start with a Nokia phone when they're teenagers. Like that is something they have to earn. My son is really he wants the next phone, but he's like, I don't know if I'm willing to put in the work. So like trying to decide where he fits with that. Not a full smartphone, but we usually do pinwheel. It's like a True Me and Gab phone. So just like those different things to eventually where they could go to away with friends for a weekend, right? So in Utah, they went down to St. George with some friends or something like that. Even to, I don't love, I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube. And so I don't like children on YouTube. That's the part I hate. And so as they become older and they want to be able to get on YouTube, that is a level I have them earn is to be able to get onto YouTube, to learn the computer password, right? And so it takes out a lot of the nagging on children
Right.
of, can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have this? And then it gives parents a lot of comfort of like, yeah, let me show you how. So that I love to get rid of fighting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We
that's
all have
kind of
to.
the overview of levels of liberty. There are other podcasts. There are lots of things on my like old YouTube videos and stuff about it, old
Okay.
podcast episodes. People can do more. So like let's get into your family and get specific.
Sure.
So kind of talk to me about like you're saying you want implementing it, like
Yeah.
cooking, cleaning, motivating children. So what are kind of your hopes and dreams with this?
Yeah. Ideally, I would love my children to do a lot more on their own than that I'm doing for them now. So I have been able to do a few things, but I feel like I've been doing like the nagging. I definitely want to get rid of that. So, um, yeah, things like them helping me cook so eventually they can do certain things on their own at certain ages. They're like making a whole meal by themselves for breakfast or lunch or whatever. Um, and doing a lot more cleaning. My husband and I don't really want to pay them for chores. We just feel like the things at home are things they need to do because they are part of our family. Um, they can earn money other ways, be creative with that, but so they're motivated to do chores if they are getting money, but I want to move away from that. And so I feel like this could potentially help with that. And let's see, I don't know, things like laundry and other skills that they'll need in their life.
Yeah.
So, did I
Okay.
answer your question?
Yeah, no, that was great. So what I have found is because like I threw this out years ago, right? And then I pulled back for a little bit because I saw it as a way of a lot of parents using it as a tool of manipulation. And I
Right.
was like, ooh, no, that was never my intent with this. And so I pulled back for a little bit. But what I actually now have people start with are the happy habits.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the best precursor I have seen into levels of liberty. And like the actual really strict levels of liberty is more 12, right?
Like
So
12
if,
years old.
what was that?
Like when they're 12 years old, they're doing
Hmm.
things. Okay.
So when they are about 12-ish, then they have a lot more capacity to being like, hey, you're going to be building six different skills in these areas in order to get XYZ, right? So when they're younger like this, I just do like one or two things at a time. So instead of here are six skills, let's do one or two skills in order to get a later bedtime. So my son, it wasn't six different things of like, hey, be doing this with your finances, track your finances, emotional, you need to be journaling every day, right? So we didn't have all of that stuff, but it was he wanted this later bedtime. And I said, great, here's what would be expected of you. Getting your chores done by 9:30 in the morning, doing XYZ, and if you want to work on all of these things, then great, we can do that. So that's even like a middle ground. Happy habits is even more basic, right?
Okay.
So it's like, let's see, you had cooking or something. Let's pick laundry, right?
Okay.
So like being able to fold your own clothes. So happy habits is literally saying, okay, kid A, you fold your clothes. And if you do fold your clothes, you get this liberty. Maybe that liberty is to be able to go play with friends. Maybe that liberty is if you do screen time, whatever it is for you guys. And then
Yeah.
you have the little, we do a happy face and a frowny face. And so it's like you get your stuff done, you can play with friends. You don't get your stuff done, you don't get to play with friends. So I like to have both of them on there so they can see it is my choice whether or not I get to do this thing. So
Right.
it can be as simple as friends is like an easy one for me for like one of my kids. That's like I don't try to reinvent the wheel every single time and try to think of all these things because I don't want to nag and I don't want drama.
Right.
So like one of my kids' happy habits is working on getting their chores done by 9:30 in the morning. So getting up, their room, their house chores, getting dressed, brushing teeth, and by 9:30 and they do these types of things, they can have friends that afternoon after school. For another kid, they actually they have till 9 p.m. because they have a busier schedule. So they get all their stuff done. They work for the neighbors, they do whatever. They can have screens the next day because this kid has the Nokia type phone. He likes to do a school on a computer. And so it's like if you want screens tomorrow, you have till 9 p.m. the day before to get it done. So this way, we're starting to teach them you get stuff done, you get the liberty instead of money, right? It's some people do like you eat all your dinner, like you say seated at the dinner. We have an after dinner treat. Right? Like it's as simple as that. So if you have a 5-year-old who's running wild around the table, we don't have to nag, we don't have to yell at them, we don't have to get after them, but we're
Hmm.
starting to teach them, hey, there are positive consequences and negative consequences to our choices. But this is the part that a lot of people forget and where I see a lot of the breakdown of levels of liberty is
Hmm.
mom and dad need to be on there too. Because it is so
Ah,
easy to say, you guys need to be nice to each other. But if I'm having a bad day, it's totally cool if I lose my mind and yell at you or spank you or do whatever.
right.
But if I'm on happy habits, so I am right now with my boys, and if I criticize their fighting, like getting after them, like knock it off, or like, but I'm really negative with it, I owe that
Hmm.
kid $5 because that
Oh.
is the consequence to my choice. And they were like, that is fantastic. Yes. So now I just haven't said anything, right? Like they're fighting. I always feel like I need like a video. It's like, I'm not worried, right? If I'm critical with their chores, my negative consequence is that I have to do their chores tomorrow.
Hmm.
So it starts showing them that these are like the good things and bad things that happen with my
Mhm.
choices. So it's like I don't prepare the meal. So we had this with, obviously with teens, but if you didn't make dinner on the night that it was your dinner, you bought us all dinner because we noticed that kids were like, Mom will just figure something out. And I was like, I will not figure something out.
If you're
You
not
have
in the house,
money.
right?
Like you can order, you can do Uber Eats, you can do whatever, but like you are in charge of dinner, whatever it is.
Hmm.
And they learn those skills really, really well. So I like people to actually master happy habits first. And happy habits is a free download on my website, coachmegthomas.com. And it's a free download. And I want parents to master that because the first thing I want parents to master on that is to not yell,
Hmm.
right? So that your kids are actually listening to you and doing these things. And then we can slowly add in skills like being able to cook lunch. Like if you're in charge of lunch, whether it's like just making sandwiches or a quesadilla or you're setting something out, right? Like whatever skill level where they are, great. You do that, we eat this awesome lunch. You don't do it, what's the consequence? I don't know. Like we all just sit here and wait for you to do it, right? Like
Right.
whatever it is for little kids, like you have some younger ones. I don't do it till 3. So for your 1 year old, I wouldn't put them in the mix. But like your 4 year old, it's toys don't come down until I'm assuming that I'm saying that for myself because our toys were up. But like room has to be picked up, bed has to be made, and then toys can come out. They're not done, toys can't come out. So we're starting to just teach them little simple things that it's not just handouts.
Right.
It's like I'm nice to my husband, he's nice to me. That's just a like a positive consequence of my choices. I'm a jerk to my husband, he's cold to me. Right? Like all
Right.
throughout everything we're doing, we are motivated by positive and negative consequences. And so as we do this, they get really good at it. And then when we get into the teenage years, we can then build upon it of just like, okay, you're ready for being able to drive, being able to date, being able to go with friends without an adult, whatever it is, a phone, anything that people want their kids to have. Of like, great, here are 6 skills we're going to master, and they're skills that are manageable. They are never things that are like, be nice, be kind, because you cannot measure those things, but
Mhm.
it has to be something that is measurable. Now, I talked a lot. So, what questions do you have about how to implement it for your own family?
So I guess it's probably individual to each child. Um,
Absolutely.
but do you have a chart or something where you're managing that they can see it visually? And then do you have like a meeting with them individually or as like a whole family where you talk about what those habits will be and what the liberties are and things like that?
Okay, great. Yes, the chart is on the Happy Habits download.
Okay, great.
And but you can also write it on a piece of paper. Mine is actually a piece of paper because my printer's downstairs and sometimes I'm too lazy to go down there.
Yep.
So mine is a piece of paper. We did it as a family during family meeting because it was everybody in our family is working on something.
Hmm.
It's not because it's really easy to go after the quote unquote hard kid of like, you've got to quit hitting. Like
Right.
this, you're a monster, right? And then little Susie, we're just like, oh, you're just a little angel. There's nothing, you're just perfect, right? But instead, it's like, hey, we all have stuff. So maybe I'm not yelling or I'm not slapping, but I can be really negative and critical with chores. And that's
Hmm.
where so it's like, hey, this is what mom's going to be doing. Here are some ideas I might have for you boys, right? Like, here's something that I think that would be good. Here's some ideas I would think for consequences. And then and nothing is written in stone. So we had one that was like, it's so funny. But if my boys start fighting, I don't know when they've gone too far, right? And so it's like, we just need something because there's a big age gap to know when it's going too far. So there's a safe word. And so the oldest, he just has to stop with the younger one says the safe word, right? That's as simple it is. Brother says the safe word, he's done. But what was happening is the little brother wasn't saying the safe word and then would cry, kick, scream. And it was like, oh, okay. So your thing is to you, if you are done, you have to say this word and you cannot kick, retaliate, like, because it's not violent when I'm saying fighting, like it's boy
They're toys.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, it got very, very clear. And he was like, oh, now I understand what we're talking about. And that took some fine tuning because
Mhm.
words like whining are really hard to to judge, right? Because it's like, I'm not whining. This is just my voice. And it's like, I don't know, that sounds like whining to me. But like saying this word, we have it with getting chores done by a certain time, something like that, where it's really easy to do. If for parents, I love to have them start with yelling. So yes, we meet together, and then once you have one going, master that. Take a couple weeks, 3 weeks, a month if you need to, before you add in another one,
Okay.
and then master them in slowly like that. And you can start bringing in things. So, and you can add to it, right? So maybe their first one is making the bed. And as they master that skill, it's like, great. Now let's add making the bed plus cleaning your room.
Hmm.
So just a little bit at a time.
That's great.
Yeah. So any more questions with that?
Um, I think you answered my question because I was going to ask like what you answered. Just after you master it, you move on to the next one. So I think you answered what I was thinking.
Now
Yeah, I
I
don't.
will say, like throughout, my 8-year-old was trying to master the to get a later bedtime, but he's grown up with levels of liberty.
Hmm.
Right. And so it's been a part of our family culture for a long time. That's all he's ever known and all he's ever seen. And so I don't normally recommend it for younger kids unless, like, when your 1.5-year-old becomes older and they've lived with this, then you can probably start it a little bit younger if they're ready. But
Hmm.
usually I find that they're developmentally not actually ready for all six things.
Right.
But it can be something that's part of your school. So, like, in my homeschool lessons I do 1 month is on finances, of learning skills with finances. 1 month's on our emotions. 1 month's on mental. My January plans all have mental stuff for kids, right? So we're learning these skills, and we might be doing things until we're ready at 12, when it's like, okay, I'm ready for the challenge. I'm ready for a little bit more. And then for my teens, I also bring in a lot of books that they can read on their own. So they might read a book on mindset, or they might read How to Win Friends and Influence People, a book on finances, right? So that they're really studying and building habits at the same time.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Um, I I feel like it would probably I feel like I'm already doing some of it already, like where I'm like, okay, you do your schoolwork, you do these things, and then you get this liberty. I don't call it a liberty yet,
Mm-hmm.
but um, so I think it'll be good to kind of make it more visual for my kids. And like we sit down, we talk about it, we talk about what are the things you want to work on, and I think that would be great to just kind of make it more, I don't know, just
More
more,
clear.
yeah, definitely.
And then
Um,
it takes out the nagging,
yes.
right? Like, you don't do your schoolwork. We already know, like, it's been on the fridge or wherever you guys hang it. Like, we already know the consequence to this. And
Right.
so, like, if my teen doesn't get his schoolwork done by 9, like, we already know. And like, I don't have to nag, I don't have to remind.
Yep.
It's done. And I just get to show up and have fun and connect and play, and then enforce the boundary that was set. But
Yeah.
also enforce it with myself, because that's where a lot of that growth is with them. Is they're like, oh,
Hmm.
my parents are also doing this too. It's
Yeah.
not
That's
just
good.
me. I'm not a bad kid. It's everybody.
Right. Yeah. And it's good that we can work on it too to model for them. That's good. I like that.
Okay. So everyone, you can go and download Happy Habits on my website at coachmegthomas.com. It's free. You can check it out. If you are ready for the full Levels of Liberty course, I have made a homeschool boot camp. And I have that. It has the no yelling course, Levels of Liberty, but it has all my videos in depth of how to actually implement these things, so that when you are ready for the implementation of Levels of Liberty, it's
Mhm.
awesome and it's successful and actually flows, so that it's not an uphill battle, but it's actually your kids are ready for it. So you can also grab that at coachmegthomas.com. That's the homeschool boot camp, and download Happy Habits. So Kendra, thanks so much for coming on today. And everyone else, I have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.